The air on the morning of December 7, 1941, was warm and thick with the sweet scent of Hawaiian blossoms. It was a Sunday, a day of rest across the naval base at Pearl Harbor on Oahu. Thousands of American sailors, Marines, soldiers, church services, leisurely breakfasts, a baseball game later that afternoon. The great battleships of the U.S. Pacific Fleet sat moored in neat rows along Ford Island, their gray hulls gleaming under the gentle tropical sun. It was a picture of immense power, utterly at ease, unaware of the cataclysm racing toward it across the vast Pacific. On board USS Nevada, the ship's band prepared for morning colors, instruments polished and ready for the Star-Spangled Banner. Men below decks slept in, enjoying a rare break. At precisely 7:48 a.m., Hawaiian time, the morning calm was violently torn apart. The first wave of 183 Japanese aircraft, launched from 6 aircraft carriers, positioned 230 miles north of Oahu, descended upon the unsuspecting naval base. The pilots, led by Commander Mitsuo Fuchida, achieved complete tactical surprise. His famous radio message,
"Tora, Tora, Tora, Tiger, Tiger, Tiger,"
signaled back to the Japanese fleet that the surprise attack had been successful. For the men on the ground and on the ships, the first sign of trouble was the unfamiliar drone of engines. The sight of planes bearing the red circle of the rising sun and the terrifying whistle of falling bombs. Japanese dive bombers targeted the airfields first, aiming to eliminate the American air response before it could even get off the ground. Simultaneously, torpedo planes raced in low over the water, specially modified with wooden fins to run in the shallow harbor, aiming for the vulnerable hulls of the battleships moored on Battleship Row. On the deck of the USS Arizona, a 1,760-pound armor-piercing bomb struck near the forward ammunition magazine. The resulting detonation was catastrophic, a massive explosion. Amidst the grand scale of destruction and geopolitical strategy, the story of Pearl Harbor is ultimately a collection of intensely personal human stories. It is the story of individuals caught in a moment of unimaginable terror, who responded with acts of desperation and incredible bravery. One such story is that of Doris "Dory" Miller, an African-American mess attendant 3rd class aboard the USS West Virginia. At a time when black sailors were relegated to non-combat roles, Miller's actions defied all expectations. When his ship was struck by torpedoes and bombs, he first helped carry his wounded captain to a safer location before running to an unattended .50 caliber anti-aircraft machine gun, a weapon he had never been trained to operate. Dory Miller began firing at the attacking Japanese planes, continuing to fire until his ammunition was exhausted and he was ordered to abandon ship. He was credited with downing at least one and possibly several enemy aircraft. His courage in the face of fire became a powerful symbol of heroism, earning him the Navy Cross and making him one of the first celebrated heroes of World War II. A young civilian nurse at the base hospital provides a different, equally powerful perspective. She had just finished a long night shift and was looking forward to a day of rest when the first explosions shook the hospital windows. When the smoke finally began to clear over Pearl Harbor, the scale of the devastation was breathtaking and horrifying. The U.S. Pacific Fleet, the cornerstone of American power in the region, lay in ruins. In less than 2 hours, the Imperial Japanese Navy had delivered a crippling blow. 8 U.S. battleships were hit, 4 were sunk, including the USS Arizona, which remains a submerged tomb to this day. The USS Oklahoma had capsized completely. The USS California was sunk at her mooring. The USS West Virginia was sunk at her mooring. The attack also decimated American air power on Oahu. The Japanese planes had systematically targeted the island's military airfields, destroying aircraft on the ground before they could pose a threat. 188 U.S. aircraft were destroyed. Another 159 were damaged. The sight of rows of American planes burning on the tarmac became one of the most enduring and humiliating images of the day. 2,403 Americans were killed. 2,335 were military personnel. 68 were civilians. An additional 1,178 people were wounded. They managed to save 32 men from the Oklahoma, but hundreds more perished, a grim testament to the suddenness and ferocity of the assault. In stark contrast, the Japanese losses were astonishingly light. To understand the shocking events of December 7, 1941, we must look at the escalating tensions that had been building for over a decade. Japan, a nation with limited natural resources, embarked on an aggressive campaign of expansion in Asia. It sought to establish the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, an empire to provide oil, rubber, minerals for its industry and military. This led to the invasion of Manchuria and a full-scale war with China, actions condemned internationally. The United States, officially neutral, watched with growing alarm, seeing a global threat alongside Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. In summer 1941, the United States, with the British and the Dutch, imposed a crippling oil embargo on Japan, cutting off over 90% of its oil and giving the military roughly an 18-month deadline before collapse. Faced with economic strangulation, Japan's leaders saw two choices: concede and withdraw from China, or seize oil-rich territories in Southeast Asia, especially the Dutch East Indies. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto and Japan's high command devised a daring, high-risk plan aiming to eliminate that threat in one decisive strike. They didn't believe they could win a long war against America's industrial power, so they gambled a sudden, devastating strike would shock and demoralize the American public, force the U.S. to negotiate, and allow Japan to secure its empire. They misread the American character. Instead, the attack galvanized a divided and isolationist nation into a unified and vengeful war machine determined to fight to the end. The news of the attack on Pearl Harbor spread across the United States with the speed of a shockwave transmitted through the crackling broadcasts of radio announcers. On that Sunday afternoon, families gathered around their radios in stunned silence, listening to the first fragmented and unbelievable reports of the disaster. The sense of security that had defined the American experience for so long was shattered in an instant. The very next day, on December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt stood before a joint session of Congress and the American people. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, he began, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Within an hour of Roosevelt's speech, Congress voted to declare war on Japan. The House 388-1, the Senate 82-0. The lone dissent came from Representative Jeannette Rankin, a committed pacifist. The political divisions evaporated overnight. The nation underwent a rapid and total transformation. Factories that had been making cars began producing tanks and planes. Civilian life was reshaped by rationing, bond drives, and a shared purpose. This declaration of war was the moment the United States officially entered World War II. Decades after the fires have been extinguished and the ships have been razed or turned into memorials, the memory of Pearl Harbor endures. We remember it, first and foremost, for the people. We remember the 2,403 Americans who lost their lives on a quiet Sunday morning, their names now etched in stone. We remember the stories of individual heroism, like that of Dory Miller, and the quiet courage of the nurses and civilian workers. We also remember Pearl Harbor as a pivotal turning point in the history of the 20th century, a catalyst that propelled a reluctant nation into war and underscored the dangers of unpreparedness. Lessons about intelligence, readiness, and the nature of modern warfare shaped doctrine for generations. At the USS Arizona Memorial, small drops of oil, black tears, still rise to the surface, a tangible link to the past. It has become a symbol of reconciliation, honoring the shared human cost of war. Ultimately, we remember to honor the past and to inform the future. The memory of that day is a permanent warning against complacency and a reminder of the devastating cost of conflict. By remembering what happened on that infamous day, we recommit ourselves to the enduring effort of ensuring such a morning never dawns again.